When you think about it, it's only been about 12 days since PlayStation announced they are no longer going to be making physical discs for their current gen systems or even their next gen PlayStation 6. And things really haven't been going well for them practically at all. You can clearly see that on almost every single post that PlayStation puts out, people are in fact brigading it, community noting it, and expressing their entire ability of being incredibly angry, of losing any form of ownership or even an option of how to buy and own video games. But you see, the more time goes on and the more people dig into what's been happening, the more information actually comes out. I talked about this, in fact, last week in Thursday's video, where I pointed out how Hiroki Totoki sold half of all of his shares of PlayStation just 2 days into the actual announcement. Well, it turns out he wasn't the only one. Because according to Derek Strickland on Twitter from Tweaktown saying this, multiple Sony executives recently sold their shares. It wasn't just the CEO, posting the actual sec.gov website and showing all of the actual shares being sold by the executives at Sony. So we've been seeing a couple of things already in just these 12 past days. PlayStation's own stock seems to be falling down. People are mass canceling PSN. We've had other industry analysts like Dr. Serkan Toto talk about this and then get community noted saying that they actually benefit from PlayStation, in fact, going to microlenses on their AI data centers rather than printing discs as well. And of course, the shares being sold by execs and everything else across the board, with the entire internet basically just turning on PlayStation on an actual dime because of the insane inability for this company to stop and think to themselves, hey, maybe this isn't the best idea to move forward. But I think it's going to get worse for PlayStation. And in my opinion, they really weren't expecting this at all. Because according to NBC News, movies still come on Blu-ray, music is still pressed on vinyl, and books still fill store shelves. But as Sony moves to phase out physical PlayStation releases, many gamers are asking why video games should be the first major entertainment medium to go all digital, with 2.1 million views and 20,000 likes. Now, unfortunately, this article is in fact behind a paywall. No, I'm not kidding. You got to be a subscriber to read the article. But the thing is, that tweet makes an excellent point and post. Every other major entertainment outlet already has physical media. Hell, they're still pressing vinyl like they said before, and even still making cassette tapes. Those still exist to purchase if you even want them. Nintendo just went around and said, you know what? If you want actual physical, give us $10 more. And although I'm not a fan of that process, that would have still been a better alternative for PlayStation rather than completely removing a total option on how to purchase games, especially affording them in a much cheaper fashion. But that really does beg the question though, why is it that gaming is the only medium that is being forced into going all digital when every other entertainment factor doesn't do that? They don't require that, or they haven't moved in that direction. Spotify is huge and massive, yet we still have physical content for those artists. Kindles are huge as well, and ebooks are incredibly growing in space, yet we still have physical books to in fact go buy. And movies are all over Netflix, Hulu, and everything else across every streaming service, yet for some reason you can still go and buy a DVD. And even with all that information, apparently gaming is the only medium that can sit around and say, you know what, we're just gonna go all in. Every anti-consumer practice, every typical kind of way of behavior of screwing over the customer for some reason always happens to gaming first, and then it applies everywhere else across the board. But I think the big ticket item that Sony wasn't betting on was the fact that mainstream media caught attention to this. This isn't Kotaku, this isn't Polygon, this isn't some website like IGN. We're talking about mainstream MSNBC News catching wind of all of this happening. Literally not a good sign for any shareholder whatsoever, because once this news reaches the normies, that's where it's going to be a huge problem overall. I mean, think about how bad it went for Xbox during their Xbox One presentation, when everybody realized you would have to be always online to activate their DRM in order to, in fact, use that console. Even after that entire aspect was reversed from that decision, people still thought, the normies did by the way, that every single Xbox still had to be online. So what did they do? They just bought a PlayStation instead. They said, no, we're not going to deal with it. And they moved their entire library over to their competing platform. And the same thing apparently may also happen to PlayStation, but not in the way they think. Because according to Push Square, PS5 has put a damper on gaming, where 45% of enthusiasts are seriously considered leaving Sony for PC. With the article saying this, in a survey voted by over 6,500 of our readers, just 23% indicated they'd stick with PlayStation after a sticky generation, which came to a head last week as Sony signaled its intent to stop manufacturing disc-based games. A further 7% said they thought about making a change, but didn't expect to go through with it, while 15% said they've already made the transition, and the remaining 10% claimed they already play on both. While Sony will be much more concerned with the mainstream audience at large, this Push Square poll is likely to represent enthusiasts and the most engaged players within PlayStation's ecosystem. Now, if you know anything about stats or polls, you can clearly tell that sometimes, or a lot of the time, these things are in fact skewed, and the actual people that were polled are also major factors, and the amount of people that were polled are factors as well. 6,500 is a pretty good sample size, but like Push Square said, it's mostly their readers, and their readers are mostly PlayStation fans. And we're looking at people simply saying, if I'm going to be forced all digital, then why am I going to be locked behind a closed ecosystem? A place where PlayStation can have variable rate pricing, introduce DRM, and even restrict or remove any of the games I buy or even movies I buy from my entire library. If I'm going to be stuck going all digital, I may as well move to the PC space, where I have multiple storefronts, multiple ways of obtaining games, DRM-free games, an actual refund policy with Valve and Steam. And even then, you can sail the 7 seas and obtain games that way that are no longer available or even in print. And I think people are starting to wake up to this fact as well. If you're going to go all digital and not have the way of having any physical ownership whatsoever, even though the majority of PlayStation games are in fact completely on the disc, it really goes to show, why is PlayStation even doing this? Well, the answer is simple. It's money. They're betting that they're going to be making more money off of not paying any retailers or any other third-party storefronts by the 30% cut to go through and keep that money for themselves. It's also why I feel they left the PC space. And they're betting that you are in fact too much of a simp to sit here and watch as PlayStation erodes away every bit of ownership that you have in your entire gaming library and catalog, so that way they can control everything from front to back, while still trying to get as much money out of your back pocket they possibly can. And that's really the worst part about all of this. So I'm going to be direct at this point right now. Keep putting the pressure on PlayStation. Keep brigading their posts. Keep going around and asking for any sense of option and ownership that you can still have when buying your physical media and games. And the better part about it would also be if PlayStation actually knew what was going on and gave you proper ownership of digital content. And the reason why I bring all of this up is because even though I've supported things like Stop Killing Games, it looks like even major governments like the EU still can't do a damn thing about this. Because according to VGC on Twitter saying this, a European Union commissioner has said that Sony and other game companies can't be stopped from axing physical game discs. Quote, companies are free to offer games and services in the manner that they see fit. With the article saying this, speaking to reporters in Strasbourg's European Parliament, McGrath said that game companies were free to offer games in whatever form they choose, as long as they were compliant with the law. Quote, it all comes down to commercial and contractual freedoms, and companies are free to offer games and services in the manner that they see fit, providing the consumer rights are fully protected in line with national and EU law, he said. Saying, quote, at this time, we did have to consider a European Citizens Initiative on this question of whether games should continue to be available after a new edition of the game has been brought forward. Last month, the European Commission decided not to propose laws requiring video games to be playable after they're closed by their developers in response to the Stop Killing Games movement. And here's the thing, if you've been keeping up with the content on this channel, we've been talking about what Stop Killing Games is in fact trying to do and the benefits of that, literally stating that if a company decides to shut down your video game, revoke access from you, or even then stop that game from being playable, they should give you either a full refund, the opportunity to play that game in offline modes, or anything along the lines to keep that game active in your library. Yet for some reason, people still don't understand what SKG is trying to do and the space it's trying to fix. Literally right now, we are fighting a battle on two specific fronts. We're seeing as PlayStation is removing an entire option on how to go ahead and purchase video games, whether it's cheaper, whether it's for ownership, or even them trying to save money or even make more money off of you. We also saw the previous week as well as the European Parliament and the EU decided to go ahead and say no to Stop Killing Games after the ESA made an entire rap sheet saying how things were in fact illegal and it's going to be bad for the gaming industry. While the ESA, the EU, and even everybody else in PlayStation are basically, in my opinion, working in cahoots to remove any sort of access from you, we still have people not understanding what is in fact going on and trying to defend this entire thing. Hell, even PlayStation was doing this exact same thing 16 years ago, with PlayStation on Twitter back in 2010 showing this: if you're an American and you care about gaming and your rights, sign the gamer petition today. Yeah, so even PlayStation back then, all those years ago, was all about you owning your games, having that ownership. They even did the goddamn "this is how you share your games with your friends" video that everybody has gone back to and been talking about. But PlayStation in 12 days has said nothing. They're doing nothing. They're watching their stock price fall, and they're getting ratioed, community noted, and bombarded in every single tweet, while governments like in the EU and the Parliament are doing nothing at all to protect their actual consumers and customers. Really strange when you put it all together. But even with all of this happening, the brigading, the community notes, governments getting involved, legislation happening, SKG finally getting its second wind, it looks like PlayStation has no clue who they're messing with, who they're dealing with, and what's going to be happening to their systems overall. And this, in my opinion, is exactly the one wild card PlayStation was not ready for. Because according to videocards.com, PS5 emulation race begins before GTA 6 launch, and some 2D games are already running on PC. This is the part that I think PlayStation was in fact not ready for, not prepared for, or had no idea would even be coming at them like a 1,000-mile-an-hour train right down the tracks as they're hogtied to it. It's going to be bad for them in a lot of specific ways, especially if a lot of the users and creators of emulation projects are getting involved. And apparently, there's a couple of them out already, and some of them are even booting into games right now, which really is kind of scary when you think about it. The fact that PlayStation was probably not betting on PC gamers and developers and even coders getting around to going ahead and saying, you know what, we're not going to emulate your box. We're going to make an entire emulation layer and run it that way because it basically is an x86 machine. Get ready, boys. We're about to have every PlayStation game on PC, no matter what they say. And when you look at what happened with Push Square and their entire article saying that, yeah, we're going to move to PC with 43% of those people doing it, if emulation comes around quicker than we think and people actually get involved in it, well, PlayStation is going to be in a heap of trouble. Because according to videocards.com saying this, Sharp Emu looks the most promising because it shows the biggest progress. The new C emulator can load PS5 executable files, run native CPU instructions, load system modules, and provide early shader and video output support. Its primary development platform is Windows. Here's TechDroider on Twitter showing this. The PS5 emulator for Windows is almost here. There are now 4 PS5 emulators in development, and Sharp Emu has already booted Demon's Souls Remake. It only reaches the boot screen for now, but this is a crazy breakthrough. Just seeing a PS5 exclusive boot on PC is something many people thought was still years away. People don't realize how big this is. Rockstar is going to start feeling the pressure. GTA 6 is the game everyone wants on PC. And PS5 emulation moving this fast is the last thing publishers want to see. The thing is, it's not just publishers, it's also PlayStation not wanting to see this. These boys really went out here and they thought, well, if we go all digital and there's no physical format, then hey, there's going to be no way they can go ahead and emulate our games and have our content. They have to come to us. They have to be on our storefront. They have to deal with our pricing. They have to deal with our DRM. It's almost like PlayStation is in fact using their entire user base and using that to make a literal monopoly. You know, the things everybody was suing Valve about because they charge 30% of their cut for every game sold. Well, this isn't about cuts anymore. It's about entire actual control of a literal storefront of one of the biggest gaming platforms in the space today and in the industry right now. PlayStation is literally abusing its reach, its size, and its entire fan base to squeeze more money out of them, lock them into this ecosystem, and then say nothing about it at all, giving people and customers zero ownership, not only in physical, but also in digital, removing the actual option of getting games cheaper because they want you to deal with their variable rate pricing, and going around and not realizing that if they keep doing this, the entire community is going to push back on them, and come hell or high water, they're going to play your games whether they pay for them or not. In fact, here's Generation Amiga also on Twitter saying this: Kaitai PS5 version 0.0.2 is a major step forward for PS5 emulation on Windows, adding a new shader recompiler, better graphics, audio and video support, plus more games reaching gameplay. Early, but real progress. I really feel like PlayStation was not betting on emulation getting this far and this advanced. And I also feel like PlayStation was betting on the fact that so many of their users are incredibly ingrained in their ecosystem to not be angry about this. Well, it turns out they bet on the wrong horse multiple times. If these emulators become legit and they come out and they're actually able to play and boot games, this is going to be a huge issue for PlayStation. They're going to have to fight back in some possible way, either taking these emulators down like Nintendo did, or simply just folding like they're supposed to in the first place to the actual customers whose money they're dying to get, and bring back the one thing people actually want: true ownership of their content, ownership of the things they buy. And again, if buying it isn't owning it, then piracy, well, you wouldn't steal a car, would you? And personally, this points to me that all these companies are doing everything they can to put you over a barrel, take away ownership, restrict what you can purchase, and then monetize you and manipulate you in every possible way, either by using dark patterns in their UIs or going around and restricting what you can and cannot buy with variable rate pricing and manipulating you into paying more for a video game when clearly they can sell it for less. All those lawsuits that were coming around, all those people that were suing Valve, all those places talking about true consumer freedom and ownership, literally, not one of them has said anything about this at all. Thankfully, we have things like Stop Killing Games in the pipeline trying to do something to give you actual protections in this all-digital hellscape that we're going to be moving into in the future. And that's the scary part about this. The more games go full digital, the more content gets locked away from being physical, the less ownership you have of your games even digitally, the more control they have over you. And the more they do that, well, the more they can charge you. And the more they can charge you, the more they can manipulate you. And all they're trying to do in the end is get their hands into your greedy back pockets. And that is something we can't have. What an actual disaster for PlayStation right now. All they had to do was say, we'll keep making physical discs, we'll give you guys proper digital ownership, and you'll have access to everything, and we'll beef up our securities as well. But they didn't do any of that. They just sat there and thought you'd take it like a good pay pig. Well, clearly, they found out gamers really are the most oppressed class of all. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. I know it's a hell of a meme, but damn if it doesn't ring true sometimes. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I want to hear what you guys got to say about this in the comment section down below. Do you think PlayStation is ready for all those lawsuits? Do you think they're going to be prepared for Stop Killing Games and the Brazilian government as well? Or do you think they're going to go ahead and strike down every single emulator they possibly can while going around and trying to restrict what you can and cannot own and what you can and cannot buy? I want to hear what you guys got to say. And speaking about what you got to say, here's a comment of the day from Friday's video. Wistari Dakari saying this: Xbox should announce that they're going to keep selling physical media and then have Asha make a parody of Sony's How to Share Your Games video. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Starry, I completely agree with you on this sentiment 100%. The thing is, though, I also feel like Xbox wants to do the exact same thing and move to all digital, even though we've talked about it before, how Doom the Dark Ages only has 85 megabytes of data on the disc for PS5, and you have to download the rest of the game. If Xbox takes notes about what's going on and they can see the actual pitfalls that Sony is stepping in, hopefully they can avoid some of those rakes and provide better ownership for you as a customer. And yeah, it would be really funny to see that exact same video happen once again. But we'll see what Xbox does, and hopefully they can miss that rake too. But as always, if you guys want to see more of this kind of content though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and live streams, subscribe to the channel. If you want Discord access or emotes during those live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. Look, if you don't want to spend the buck, don't even sweat it. Just come on down Saturday nights live, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel as I wear a banana suit and get insulted with TTS by all the viewers. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Saturday nights live, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel. Do you want even more of me though? Check out Oh No It's Alex Gaming. Link to that channel is in the description down below. New videos come out every single Monday. Hey, there's a new video there out right now if you want to go check it out. And I live stream there daily, every day from 10:30 a.m. to around 2 p.m. We play games, have fun, just talk a little bit, and get you through your workday. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Oh No It's Alex Gaming. Once again, the link to that channel is in the description down below. With all that being said, boys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!